Okay. So, talk of change. When you are elected, do you have any plan, any specific legislation that you would like to change or put in place for the state auditor's office?
Well, I certainly do. There are things that are required by law that the state auditor has to do, and so every 2 years, every state agency has to have had a financial audit to make sure that the books balance and that they do have those proper controls in place. But the auditor also gets to use her discretion in picking targets for deeper audits, agencies that you really want to take a look at and find out whether things are really on track or not. Sometimes the auditor gets complaints from citizens about things that aren't working well in government and does an audit. Sometimes the auditor does an audit because, just like the IRS, certain things, when you're looking at someone's tax return, certain things just seem wrong and they go in and audit an individual or a business. The same way with the state auditor. An agency's reports may just look funny. You know, why all of a sudden are they spending money in this particular area? So at any rate, so I want to use my discretion to tackle what I think is a big problem, and it comes from my own experience as the Secretary of Labor. If you are a resident of the Commonwealth, you know now that you are required to have health insurance. That law was passed in 2006. Everybody has to have health insurance through some program. And if you don't get it through work, then you go to this agency known as the connector, and you apply for coverage, and based on your income, maybe you will pay the full market rate for insurance, or maybe you'll get subsidized insurance. And you choose from a wide list, a long list of healthcare providers, health insurance companies, and you make your selection, and with your co-pays and your deductibles. But now finally you've gone through all that and you finally have insurance for yourself and your family until you lose your job. And then you're no longer eligible for coverage through that plan. If you're unemployed and you're collecting unemployment benefits, then you have to move over to a program that I administered when I was Secretary of Labor. Under the unemployment system, we have something called the Medical Security Program. You have to go through a whole nother determination of eligibility, all this other paperwork. You can't keep the plan you had before. You have to go into a different plan. But then you finally get all your paperwork done and you've got your health insurance, but it only lasts until your benefits run out. And then once you no longer are eligible for unemployment benefits, you have to either go back to the Mass Health program and see if you qualify for something there, or you have to go to the Medicaid program. Government is putting a tremendous burden on people who are just trying to comply with the law and provide health insurance for themselves and their families. There has to be a way that we can do this better. And remember, we've got 3 different agencies with 3 different processes eating up, multiples of amounts of money that we could be putting into actually subsidizing the cost of health insurance. So that is a big issue that I want to help tackle, because what I will do is I will follow the money. I will see how much we're spending on administering all of these different programs and how much money is being wasted, and then help the legislature and the governor figure out how to do a better job. So that's my first priority, trying to help people gain access to health insurance and live up to the requirements of the law and provide for themselves and their families.
So would you try to advocate for an extension of the uninsured, that's the people that are on unemployment,
right,
that after their unemployment runs out, for them to have same coverage without having to go through this whole thing again, right? Put in application for another health insurance, or would you do something about that?
Yeah, there are a number of different things that would have to be changed. There are a number of different ways that you could approach the problem, But as the auditor, I can't go in with a predetermined solution. I have to see what the flow of money suggests. Okay. And then I have to figure out what really is the most efficient way of doing this. I may have an idea right now for what the solution is, and I do have ideas for what the solution is. But as an independent professional auditor, I just can't go in and substitute my own judgment.
Yes.
I have to base my recommendations on what the analysis, what the audit shows me is the best thing to do.
Okay. I see. Okay. So we won't go there again. Recently, I was looking through the news release of the present auditor's office, and it indicated that there has been a follow-up audit with DPPC.
Okay, Disabled Persons
Protective
Commission.
Yes,
I'm familiar with that.
The reason they said that there was backlog with investigations, and the reason that was stated there is that because they don't have laptops to do their work faster, and that's why there is backlog.
Right.
My question to you is, DPPC is a matter of life. When these reports get to these people, somebody's in danger.
Right.
And if these reports are not being done, if they are that backlog because of computer,
right,
they're putting people at risk.
right.
When you are in office, what would you do about it?
You know, I don't know how you came across that audit, but you came across a perfect example of why the auditor's office is so important and why performance auditing is so important. Because the auditor looked not just at how the money was being spent, but he was looking at how well the agency was performing and what are the results that disabled people who file complaints that they're being neglected or abused by their caregivers are receiving. So you picked out a really great example of how powerful this office is to help identify people that are put at risk because a state agency isn't or can't do their job as well as they should be doing to protect those people. So as the auditor, you identify the problem and you recommend solutions, but the auditor doesn't have the power on her own to go out and fix that problem. So what the auditor has to do is use her political skill to form alliances with people who care about this issue and want to see the problem resolved. So that means that I would be reaching out to the advocates for disabled people. I would be working with legislators, members of the House and the Senate, in order to educate them as to the problem. I'd also work more with the agency because in my experience, both as the state representative when we did the reform of workers' compensation and as the Secretary of Labor when I also reformed labor relations agencies that had backlogs of complaints. Sometimes you get some relief from changing your internal practices. So I haven't read in depth all of the audit report, though I'm familiar with that audit. But I don't, sometimes when it seems like that money is the only solution, and that's in this case, money for new technology is the only solution, sometimes you can also do it through change in your business practices. That's what I learned from being in business for all of those years too.